The NBA playoffs are here. This is the best time of the year if you're a basketball fan. I love April. I love May. If you're looking to see any upcoming playoff games live and in person, wherever you live, I want you to check out the SeatGeek app. It's the best place for to save money on NBA playoff tickets. It's a 100% free service. What SeatGeek does, it aggregates tickets from every major ticket site online, puts them all in one place to make comparison shopping for tickets easy. I would compare it to kayak.com for sports and concert tickets. When you're ready to buy tickets, you can snag a great deal right from your phone. Just a couple taps on the app. No better way to find playoff tickets. The other thing, they have technology called Deal Score. That calculates what every ticket in the building is worth and whether the price you're paying for that ticket is a good deal or a bad deal. Sounds complicated. It's not. And I have a special bonus for you. Promo code BILL. In the SeatGeek app, you get $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. It takes less than a minute to download the app. I would do so. Promo code BILL. Download that app and enjoy the NBA playoffs. Thank you.
Grantland presents Bill Don't Lie.
Welcome to Bill Don't Lie, taping this on a Monday morning here in Southern California. Doing a 3-minute podcast today. Chris Ryan in studio. What's up? Andrew Sharp in Washington, D.C. because he quit on Grantland and he moved back to Washington. But you did in time for the Wizards' limp playoff run. So congratulations on that.
You know, it's tough. Randy Whitman has run the team into a ditch for the past couple months. But we got the cherry blossoms out. It makes up for it.
Cherry blossoms and Beal's back, right?
That's right. Beal's back. It's not all hope is not lost. We could play the lame duck Raptors and be okay.
You know, I don't feel like it's a ditch as much as it's like you're stuck in mud and the guy keeps skidding and like there's two people trying to push the car, but mud's spraying everywhere. I think it's one of those situations, but there's still hope you can get out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, my dream scenario is actually a sweep against the Bulls, and we get swept out, and it forces Leonsis to make a move this summer.
What's the threshold they have to cross to keep Whitman?
I mean, I bet they would keep him if they win the first round.
I mean, he refuses to fire Ernie Grunfeld. It's hard for me to
exactly.
imagine.
That's the real red flag. Keeping Grunfeld, I mean, I don't know.
They were quitting on him a little while ago, though, weren't they? Like there was like Whitman walking off the court at the end of a loss without waiting for the buzzer to sound against Detroit, I think.
Yeah, and we scored against the Warriors. We scored like 6 points in a third quarter, and I don't know. There've been some dark nights the past couple of months.
I have some bad news. We're no longer talking about the Wizards. We already went over the over-under by 2 minutes.
No, let's talk about the Celtics.
No, not going to talk about the Celtics. Although I did take it personally that Cleveland seems like they want to play the Celtics in round one. That was my
Boston's
takeaway.
taking it personally too, though.
Yeah, you don't do that to Isaiah Thomas. No. You don't tell him you want him in a playoff series.
So have you come up with a nickname for him? A Boston? Is he the Leprechaun?
Isaiah Thomas? Yeah. IT4.
Oh, IT4. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we've gone with.
Okay.
Because it's weird to call somebody IT, right? And you can't call him it.
Yeah, IT sounds like a tech department guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, like, could you make a case for the IT guy? Something like that, but it just doesn't work. But IT4 seems to be.
I like the Leprechaun, and then every time he hits a three, somebody could be like, "He found the pot of gold!"
Like a leprechaun dancing.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Celtics fans very focused on Atlanta in round one.
Yeah.
If that can happen. But,
they Atlanta coming into the playoffs with a little lack of momentum there,
to say the least.
Yeah.
A little off-court lack of momentum, too. All right, this is too much Celtics talk. Let's talk about the stuff America actually cares about. First of all, Sharp tweeted the Tony Montana Scarface going down in flames, Westbrook firing bullets, which I thought was great. You beat me by about 3 minutes to that one.
It was destiny.
Yeah. So, Westbrook, if they don't make the playoffs, is it all right if I have him fifth on my MVP ballot? Because that's where I'm leaning.
I think that the last couple of weeks have sort of pushed him there. Yeah, as somebody who's wearing a Russell Westbrook t-shirt as we speak, I think that their kind of collapse and, you know, I mean, he can put up, he had a great individual season, but it does sort of remind me of great but non-impactful Iverson seasons.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of what we've learned over the past month is that Russ can be really fun, and I mean, he's still, to me, the most exciting player to watch every night, but a lot of it comes at the expense of teammates, and it's hard to compete against the best teams, especially in that West. It's hard for him to compete and make the rest of the team better every night.
I wish he had a slightly better coach.
Yeah.
I thought last night, which I watched a big chunk of, I thought Brooks, who I'm not a fan of, was particularly bad in that game. And he played Cantor and Waiters a combined 70 minutes, which is basically you're daring the Pacers to break their record
Waiters
for points.
was on West.
Yeah.
Waiters was guarding West some of that game.
And the Pacers
and
put up
Cantor can't
118.
guard anybody.
No, he's one of the worst defensive players of all time. But the Pacers put up, I think, 116 or 118, which if you look at their lineup is impossible.
Yeah.
It's literally impossible.
That Dallas game, the Oklahoma-Dallas game, I thought was going to crack a 400 over at a certain point. Like, here's what I'm kind of curious about with them. Do you think it's better for the Thunder to miss the playoffs, but feel like they got a lot of good pieces, feel like whatever Cantor's deficiencies are going to get handled by Ibaka's return? They've got one of the best 2 or 3 NBA players currently playing coming back, hopefully, next season.
Good point.
Got Westbrook with this new sort of like legend status. I think things could be looking up for them. I think it's almost better to not go in and just get completely swept by the Warriors.
Well, my question is, do you bring back Cantor? Because he's going to be expensive this summer. And I kind of look at him as sort of like, it seems like a great idea to have him on the floor, but then the defense suffers every time he's out there. And it's been sort of a glaring thing the last month or so. And if they spend money to bring back Cantor, that sort of takes them out of the running for anybody else that could help them more.
The problem for that, though, is that I think they intended him to play with Ibaka all the time, which is what he did initially. Then Ibaka got hurt. So the question they're probably asking is, do we bring him back because he's so good with Ibaka? But then you also have McGarry, you also have Steven Adams.
Yeah.
KD is probably best off playing stretch 4 with the way the NBA is now. They just have too many guys. So I think Cantor's going to get overpaid. I think somebody will pay him $12 million a year. He's been an 18 and 12 guy basically, and teams are stupid. They don't look at defense.
I don't know. I would be very tempted if I was Presti, just because the idea of having a Cantor, Ibaka, Westbrook, Durant, Morrow, whoever at the 3 lineup is very, very.
It would seem
tempting.
That
seems like an offense that could go punch for punch with the Warriors for the next.
They
couple
also
years.
don't want to look cheap this summer before KD leaves.
Well, it's never stopped them before. I don't know what to expect for them. I'm prepared for any OKC story this summer. Anything.
Which team would you prefer to watch against the Warriors? Pelicans or Thunder?
Pelicans.
I
think OKC has no chance against Golden State. I think that would be a sweep. I think OKC. I think Golden State would probably shoot between 55 and 65% every single game in that series. Whereas New Orleans, although I gotta say, like, Davis is another one who's played himself out of my top 3 MVP.
Whereas like Harden has kind of played himself closer to 1, I bet, right?
Yeah, Davis, other than, what was 4 or 5 nights ago, he had like a huge second half. Maybe it was Friday
dominated
night.
the Warriors.
Yeah. But for the most part, I don't feel like he's seized this last month by the balls, where he's like, I'm one of the best players now. I'll get on my back, guys. I don't feel like that's happened.
I think he's still learning. I think some of the advanced stats make him look better than he actually is. I think he's still learning how to take over games.
Agree.
Which is why I think seeing him in the playoffs would be more fun than seeing Russ go down shooting with Dion Waiters. I want to see what he's like in the fourth quarter of playoff games. I think that will be awesome.
And it's fascinating because, Tyreek and Davis do some fun stuff together with pick and rolls, but there's sometimes where I'm just like, why isn't that just the only play you run? It's just the pick and roll or pick and pop.
Should be every time.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think Tyreek is the ideal partner for Davis in terms of
Tyreek.
Yeah,
I'm prepared for fourth quarter. Like, once the Pelicans get into the playoffs, watching Tyreek in the fourth quarter is going to drive me insane. Because I was watching the Warriors the other night, and there are sometimes when he just sort of swallows entire possessions, and you're just like, Anthony Davis is sitting right there. He can make anything, and it's Tyreek dribbling for 15 seconds.
He reminds me of Westbrook in this respect. Like, I always just call Westbrook and still do a 90-10 guy. Like, you love 90% he brings, the 10% you put up with, but it's part of what makes him him.
Yeah.
Tyreek's like a 72-28 guy.
Yeah.
It's like 28% of it's like, oh. And he's one of those guys in the fourth quarter. He could be in the All-Star game and he'd be like, I got this.
Yeah.
Get out of my way. I'm going to score.
He has like a little a dinghy or a yacht just sort of drifting off of Waiters Island there.
Right.
Yeah. He's just in the marina. He just spends a lot of time there.
The whole concept of I got this is really fun.
Yeah.
Like Isaiah Thomas is like that for the Celtics, but he backs it up.
Yeah.
And when he does it, it's like, oh, cool, Isaiah Thomas, he has this. He's going to get to the rim. He's going to shoot threes. When Tyreek says it, it feels like 40 to 50% of the time it's probably not going to end well.
Well, the Celtics also don't have anybody else.
True.
So that makes it easier to just hand it to Isaiah Thomas and be like, go do something awesome.
How dare you say that about the villain?
I'm sorry. Marcus Smart.
I think I feel bad for the Pacers because the way it shakes out, I think it's going to be tough for them to make it. And they played really well in that game yesterday.
Yeah.
CJ Miles, it was a heroic performance to try to get himself on my 6-man ballot, which I had already established, and he's trying to get to the third spot.
There was something very fitting about the dagger on that game yesterday being like a huge Roy Hibbert dunk.
Yeah.
I was like, if you're getting jammed on by Roy Hibbert to end the season, that's how it was supposed to wrap up for the interior defense of the Thunder.
I want to know what the Pacers are going to do this summer because I still think that they can try and make a run at a point guard. Like I would love to see Ty Lawson in Indiana.
Yeah.
They just need a little bit more scoring.
Well, they have Hibbert who can opt out. They have West who I can't remember if he's a free agent this year or next year. I think he might be a free agent this year. They have a chance to totally blow up that team and kind of redo it if they wanted. I don't know what their intention is. It certainly seems like they made the right move with Lance.
Yeah, and it also seems like the East didn't get so drastically better in their down year that they can't be competitive again with a couple of moves. You know what I mean? Like this, I mean, it was health issues, but Miami didn't really like blow up the way I think people were hoping. Like the day before Bosch got diagnosed, everybody thought Miami might have the second or third best starting five in the Eastern Conference, and I think a lot of these teams just kind of stayed. They sort of plateaued. So the Pacers can easily be back in contention next year.
Well, as usual, Miami walked through a minefield of dog and somehow walked out with clean sneakers. They're going to get the 10th pick in the draft unless somebody jumps them, which is incredible. This is a good draft. Yeah. They're going to get somebody good. They'll re-sign Dragic. Bosch is going to come back healthy.
Whiteside on the minimum.
They got Whiteside for making $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And then that's not a bad situation for old Wade to come in and play 55 games every year.
They get McBob back.
They'll probably Jedi mind trick Dang into opting out.
Yeah.
And then they'll opt out. We'll resign you. And then like the Miami Mafia will send him on a boat.
The Pat Riley Illuminati power move.
A Carnival cruise ship that never docks. Yeah.
Did we tell you to opt out? No, we actually. Oh, yeah, we're not going to resign you.
Dang, signing for Fenerbahce in Turkey. Like, what's up with that?
I like their team next year.
Yeah. And
that 10th pick. You know, I've been starting to research this draft because I'm doing the telecast.
Does Stanley Johnson fall that far or something like that?
Well, they could. That's Kaminsky range too.
Ooh,
Kaminsky's a very interesting Miami Heat.
Wow.
I don't know about that.
You don't like that one?
Kaminsky in the top 10. I think that's a mistake waiting to happen.
Stretch fives are in. It's been a stretch five run.
Stretch five who can't guard anybody. Go for it.
The Celtics are getting either the 15th or 16th pick. And Kaminsky, like Olynyk is our stretch five, and Kaminsky is a much better Olynyk, potentially.
Yeah, he's just a better version of Olynyk.
We could just go Olynyk and Kaminsky. The Vanilla Thunder platoon would be incredible.
Sharp, what do you think about this? My plan for the Sixers is that we take our two. Like, I know that we're not going to get the Lakers pick, but I really want to pair Kaminsky and Harrison.
Andrew Harrison?
Yeah, just to unite those guys and bring them back.
That's right.
And heal a lot of issues in America. Yeah. That's a great idea. Hey,
Philadelphia could truly be the team of brotherly love then.
It's all been building to this. Hinkie's entire plan. Restoring racial harmony.
Hey, I have a question for both of you guys because I made fun of Philly's whole thing about, it's... They have really nothing tangible to show for the last 3 years other than more lottery picks and maybe Embiid's good and maybe Saric will be back and maybe Nerlens Noel could be good on a good team and maybe Robert Covington makes sense if you were actually playing games that mattered. The Philly fans take it really personally.
Yeah, especially Covington. If you insult Covington, that's like their second son.
I like Covington. I think he's a rotation guy.
Yeah,
he's the new Iverson.
But how did the Philly owners and front office brainwash the Sixers fans into being all in on what they're doing. Like, if you're going to do it, this is what I was thinking. I think I'm going to do a mailbag for this week. One of the things I was thinking about was, if you're going to do this is like a 3-4 year commitment to, we are bottoming out.
Yeah.
Just bear with us. This is all going to work out 4 years from now. So then go to your fans and say, all right, year 1, year 2, year 3, 40% off each year for season tickets. Make a 4-year deal with us. Year 4, full price. But for these first 3 years, 40 to 50% off each year. Doesn't that seem fair? If you're not only going to tank, but you're also going to spend the salary cap floor, and you're going to save an extra $25 million on salaries because you're so cheap.
Yeah,
you're cheaping out your payroll. That wouldn't it make sense to cut the ticket holder some? Why do I care? Why am I the only one who cares about this?
I think that the counter argument to that would be, it's not that they're cheap; they're just spending wisely. But I think I'd compare as far as brainwashing and stuff like that. I've compared almost to the way that like a cult TV show functions, where it's like The Bridge, or even like, I know The Americans has more fans, it's coming back, but like where it's just the remaining people who are watching that show are just like, you don't know, man, this is the best show on television.
Right.
But everybody else is like, yeah, I tried it for a couple episodes and it just wasn't really working. And I can't believe that there's so many passionate. I mean, there's more blog posts about how The Americans are the best show on television than there are actual viewers of The Americans.
Yeah.
Right? First of all, hold up. First of all, The Americans is a good show. The Bridge is a good show. So fall back, Chris. I have two theories. I lived with a Sixers blogger, and I have two theories here. Number one, I think the internet has, like Chris said, I think there's a lot of hardcore fans now who have found an outlet to talk about this stuff, and I think a lot of the only Sixers fans that have stuck around are this hardcore sort of big picture thinking group that is like, we're willing to wait for 3 or 4 years because we're going to be great, even though it doesn't really make sense and there's not a lot of evidence that it's working thus far. I mean, like, they're going to have to pay. Nerlens Noel has been good this year, but they'll have to end up paying him like $100 million in 2 years when the cap goes up.
Right.
And then the other thing is, I think that the Sixers specifically had been treading water as like a 6th or 7th seed in the East for like 5 or 6 years, and making like stupid move after stupid move, that at some point I think the fans were just ready to do anything different. And that's the one thing that I kind of understand about why they're willing to see this through, is they had basically been treading water with like Drew Holiday on a team that was never going to do anything anyways. It makes sense. When
I was, my initial problem with the rebuild was more that it made me confront the idea that I really liked that second to last Doug Collins team, the one that beat the Bulls even though they didn't have Rose. That's when he got hurt, and then took the Celtics to 6 in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
7.
And I basically like admitted to myself after like they began really tearing it all down that I understand that the goal should be a title, but I really enjoyed like just having a team in the playoffs that's competitive.
And winning can be fun.
And that just like, winning 40 some games is like enjoyable, and that engages me for a series of months. It was more of like a thing where I was like, I'm not going to watch this team. There's too much other stuff to do. There's too much other good basketball to watch. There's too much other sports to watch, other TV shows to watch them do this every night. And so I'm sort of out on that. But actually, like over the last couple of months, as KJ McDaniels plays 1.5 minutes for the Rockets, and Michael Carter-Williams brings back another lottery pick for us, I'm kind of like, maybe he's right. Like, maybe this is going to work.
Wow.
I don't know why. I mean, like, I
don't know, man.
I think but it's not, maybe he hits on these picks, maybe he doesn't, but he hasn't made any bad moves yet.
No.
Yeah. Everything is completely defensible within a vacuum until you look up and realize that you've wasted 3 years. And the other thing is that, like, I think that winning actually helps attract other guys, and you can get lucky. And sort of like, you look at what happened with the Grizzlies. I mean, they sort of, there was never any grand blueprint, but they brought together a group of people who have been really good the last 3 or 4 years, and I don't think anyone in Memphis would trade that for what the Sixers are doing.
Chris made that point about, all right, I get it, but you're going to throw away 5 years here, basically. before you even have a hint of being a playoff
But don't
team.
you think we're
It's
almost
5 years is a long time.
But we're thinking pre-League Pass days. Like, I'm not throwing away anything. I can go watch the Thunder if I want to. It used to be that, like, you'd have your national games and you'd have your local cable channel that showed the Sixers or whatever. And that was like, if you were a guy living in Philadelphia, that was your exposure to NBA basketball. But now it's like, I can watch the Sixers from LA, and Philadelphians can watch the Clippers or the Thunder or the Rockets if they want to.
And that's why I think this is working.
Yeah, and also I think that it's pretty transparent that this is a competitive rebuild. This is not about tearing down and stripping a franchise of its assets and then trying to sell it and move it to Seattle or something like that. Like, I'm pretty convinced that they're going to try and go for it.
Well, so I have 2 points that even though they're separate, collide. One is that everybody points to the Thunder as the model for this, right?
Right.
I think that's ludicrous because I don't know if we'll ever see anything like what the Thunder did again.
Yeah,
like,
never again.
They just luck out with Durant Odin. Like, if they get the first pick, they're taking Odin. Ibaka was one of the great, 20 in the 20s foreign pick that's ever happened.
Right.
Westbrook, that was just an awesome pick, and they stumbled into this guy who was great.
Too.
Yeah, I mean, he could have gone third. Harden, I mean, they made 3 great picks, and it turned out that not only were they great picks, they took 3 guys who are now 3 of the 7 best guys in the league, or 3 of the 8 best guys. I just don't think we're going to see that again. Like, that's your all-time best-case scenario, and it reminds me of the other point I was going to make was people always talk about, the 04 Pistons. Like, when you talk about the surprise teams that won the title, that was a freaking fluke. Like, first of all, they get Rasheed Wallace at the trade deadline, which is great. They had this team that was a really good defensive team, but it was a weird time for the league. You had some injuries. That weird Lakers situation. Shaq and Kobe had self-combusted. Karl Malone gets hurt the round before. KG in Minnesota. Like, it was kind of the right team at the right time. I don't know if we can point to that and say that's going to happen. Basically, I think that's something that would happen like every 30 years.
Right.
Usually the best 3 or 4 teams are going to be in the finals.
Well, and the Sixers would say, the Sixers army of Scientologists would say that that's why we are tanking, because they need to get like 1 or 2 franchise-changing superstars because the Pistons model doesn't work.
And the crazy thing is that if he just like everybody on this phone call and most people who watch basketball would say, Michael Carter-Williams is probably not going to be an all-star point guard and a foundational point guard for your team. So why not trade him and maybe get D'Angelo Russell or whoever?
Right.
You know what I mean?
He got out right away.
Yeah.
The problem is they were pimping Michael Carter-Williams for a while.
Yeah.
So now it's like, no, actually, he wasn't that good. So now you're pimping Embiid.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I as I wrote on Friday, it's either going to work and they're going to have a really good team, or we'll be talking about this for the next 50 years. Like, what a freaking disaster
I
this
think
was.
that there's
no in between now.
They're the first, like, rebuild team that's like conscious of the rebuild. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're the rebuilding team in the most rebuilding team in the rebuilding era. It's almost like the computer that has AI or something like that.
Self-righteous about it.
But it's because they're self-aware. It's because they're like transparently saying, like, we are tearing this down, and we are gambling that one of Embiid and Noel is going to become a foundational big guy, and that we are going to maybe get the next Dirk in Dario Saric. But if not, we're still going to try and maybe go for D'Angelo Russell or Justice Winslow or a good wing. And one of these guys has got to be good. And we may not get the Harden Westbrook Durant run.
Up.
I am. I'm getting fired up. I'm going clear.
My problem with it is that the fans don't talk about it like it's a gamble. They talk about it like this is a blueprint, and Hinkie knows exactly what he's doing, and we are going to be title contenders by 2018. And like, that is just a ridiculous statement. Like Bill said, like, the odds of pulling off what the Thunder did are 1 in 1,000. And I just think that this is a much riskier play. And in the meantime, you're sabotaging like entire seasons at a time.
That doesn't surprise me, though. Philadelphia people really love to brag, and if we can't brag about Ish Smith, we're going to brag about the GM.
Well, don't you feel like there's a little bit of a Russian roulette aspect to this?
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, Joel Embiid, we know he's hurt. He's going to miss 1 year. If he's a franchise center, and I thought he was the best guy in that draft last year. I was wrong on Wiggins. I didn't realize Wiggins was going to be that good. If we're right on Embiid, maybe 30% chance he becomes a franchise guy. 30% chance he's an all-star center, maybe 20% chance he's a starter, and 20% he's out of the league in 5 years. So we're just going to play these odds. But now you're doing it with Sarge, too. Now you're doing it with this lottery pick. And it's like at some point you combine all those odds, and it's not as realistic as people think.
Here's the thing. In the same piece that you wrote on Friday, though, you were talking about, like, isn't it amazing that we're thinking of Flip Saunders as this good GM? Although he's also got all this money tied up in Pekovic, Kevin Martin, Chase Budinger, the
10 terrible moves.
The one decent ankle of Ricky Rubio or whatever. We didn't do that. Sixers don't have any money tied up in bad vets.
And that's the Hinkie case, right?
Yeah.
One good move and the other stuff doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So if he lucks out this year and Justice Winslow turns into the next combination of James Harden and Paul George and 5 other awesome
Jimmy
perimeter
Butler,
guys,
Kawhi.
combined with the other stuff he did, it's like Sam Hinkie's a genius.
Right.
But let's say somebody takes Justice Winslow right before him and he ends up with D'Angelo Russell. And 2 years from now, we're like, what the hell is D'Angelo Russell? I don't even know what position he is. That he's not a genius.
It's also the most amazing test case of nature and nurture in NBA development, because you look at guys like Jimmy Butler, Paul George, all these people you just mentioned were put in pretty decent situations to start their career.
Yeah, that's
they've got
a great
Larry
point.
Bird, they've got veterans, they've got teams that are in and out of playoff contention. The Sixers don't have that. And that's something that Michael Carter-Williams has talked about with being on the Bucks. He's just been like, it's just a different situation. You've got veterans. We're going for the playoffs. You know, and you wonder what Giannis would look like on the Sixers.
On Philly.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great? What were you going to say, Sharp?
MCW is playing meaningful minutes in the fourth quarter for the first time of his life, and there are games where you're like, oh my God, what did the Bucks do? But then there are games where you're like, wow, this could actually go somewhere with him and Giannis and the rest of that. There's so much length on the Bucks. It's like that team could be kind of fun.
Yeah, it's not like they played. I mean, I kind of laughed at when the Bucks did that, just because I also thought that Brandon Knight was a decent option for them. But it's not like they were playing pin the tail on the donkey. Like, they were like, this guy very much fits the physical, like, sort of template we want our players to have, and we think we can fix his jumper.
Tall guys who switch on defensive rotations. Hey, people are asking me the last 2 months, like, why do you want the Celtics to make the playoffs? Why don't you want the lottery pick? And first of all, it's the difference between like the 9th pick and the 14th or 15th pick. This is a 7 or 8 player draft. So you're in the second tier anyway, and at that point, you don't know who you're going to, like, Nurkic turned out to be a better pick than Noah Vonleh at number 9, right? Like, you just, once you get to 9 to 15, it comes down to, do you have good scouting or not? But I think it's so important for young guys to be in the playoffs, to feel what it's like, get your feet wet. I forget what year OKC had their first series. I think it might have been against Dallas or the Lakers, one of those teams. They lost in round 1, but they had a couple games, and it's like, you can't tell me that's not important to be on national TV, feel different stakes, to get your crowd into it.
Yeah,
like,
every possession mattering. Yeah.
It made a huge difference for John Wall last year. I mean, he's a completely different player after that experience, and the whole Wizards team sort of hit another level before Whitman ruined everything. But yeah, it's definitely like a big step for any young star.
For all the comedy that came out of it, that's sort of the most disappointing thing about what happened to the Kings this year, is that I thought if Boogie had gone to the playoffs, it would have been a perfect progression from him from Team USA to then go into like the postseason, and like it really would have helped his development. I think he could have become like this, like, all NBA caliber player if like they I heard you saying like you can't really vote for him for all.
I can't.
NBA.
He only played 59 games,
right?
Which I
but
didn't
like,
realize, so
and they're shutting him down now.
Yeah.
But like, it would have been great. I mean, like, I don't know if they would have made the playoffs if they had kept Mike Malone, but like, I think that they would have been in and around Phoenix and Oklahoma if they had.
So I think they're going to trade him this summer.
Good.
And
it's time.
Why?
This is very important. I don't want a blog to be like headlines. Like, this isn't an inside info thing yet. I just think it's just, I have like a gut feeling on this. This is the time to trade him. I think he's fed up. I think he's, if you're a boogieologist like I am,
right?
I think he's probably at the end of the line with this team and this ownership and the dysfunction and all the different hirings, different coaches. The George Karl thing wasn't great for him. But there's a couple teams out there that could overpay for him. Like, for instance,
Celtics.
No, I don't think we're in the game on this, because if you're Orlando, let's say you have the 5th pick.
Huh.
You call the Kings and you say, Nick Vucevic and our 5th pick for Boogie right now.
The problem is that you call the Kings front office and 9 phones light up and 9 different guys pick up and say, hello, Sacramento Kings general manager's office.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say Vlade was going to be outside the office.
It's going to be like Roger Sterling on last night's Mad Men with like 2 phones up to his head and 3 secretaries.
I thought you were going to say Vlade was out in the building like, I missed your call. I'm so sorry. I was having a cigarette. But I think Orlando is also at the point where they should kind of go in on a piece like that. And if you have Boogie, you have Elfrid Payton, Oladipo, you bring back Tobias Harris, there's some pieces going on there.
I think the Kings would want one of Oladipo or Payton in that deal.
Nah.
If you're the Kings, you don't trade Boogie for Vucevic and the number 5 pick? I would do that because he's going to leave anyway in 2 years. I would do that. It's a great haul for him.
Yeah, I think Boogie. I think it's definitely time for Boogie because you look at the Kings. I mean, like Rudy Gay had a quietly really good year this year, and
he did.
It's hard to imagine how they get better from what this team was. I mean, obviously Boogie being healthy would have changed things a little bit, but then they're in the 9th or 10th spot. So
well, to be fair to the Kings fans, if I were a Kings fan, I would not want to trade Boogie.
Definitely,
I'm not saying this is the right move. But I also think we're at the point where if he has Dan Fagan as his agent, and if they decide it's time, let's get the hell out of here.
That.
You can't blame him. All the point guards, 3 guys running the team, 4 coaches.
And now this offseason, you have to imagine Carl's going to want to bring in some of his own guys to play, which means yet another group of people that he has to get used to. He's obviously a creature of habit. He probably doesn't get along with new people that well, like Boogie. I
think the Carl thing was a mistake. Denver is another possibility for him because they're going to have. I think they have their lottery pick this year. They can swap picks with the Knicks next year. They have Ty Lawson, who George Karl loves. Fareed, like they have the type of pieces that they could make a Boogie mega deal. But if I'm the Kings, I would never trade Boogie in the West. I'd send him to the other conference.
If the Lakers, if you were the Lakers, would you trade their 1st round pick for Boogie?
Top 4 pick for Boogie? Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So you'd have Boogie, Julius Randle,
Kobe, Rondo.
Rondo's going there. Rondo at a discount now.
Yeah.
I still think that's a Kevin Love stealth destination this summer.
Kevin Love, yeah.
I do. I think that's because if you're Kevin Love, no matter what happens with the Cavs, you win the title, you do the Darrell Revis, you leave. If you don't win the title, you're going to get blamed.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day in our. We were talking about playoff matchups we want to have happen, Jason Concepcion wrote this thing about how.
The
what makes
scenario.
it worth it? What will constitute a not disappointing season? And he hit on the point that we've been talking about a lot, which is that the margin of error for Kevin Love and the Cavs in this postseason is very slim. They either have to win the title, in which case, like you said, the Revis thing happens, or if they lose, it can't be because of him.
Right.
They have to get just far enough for it to be like, okay, we're going in the right direction. But if they lose, he has to lose scoring double-doubles and being on the floor in the 4th quarter because otherwise he's going to be like, screw this. And I think LeBron might be like, I'll pack your bags.
I think we're at the point now where you blame the Cavs more for not figuring out a way to integrate him into the offense than I would blame Love.
Or he's a little more hurt than we realize. But so you guys don't know this because you don't have a gambling problem like I do. What do you think the Cavs' odds are to win the East right now?
Offshore Sharp, you got to answer this one.
2-1.
They are minus 300 to win the East as a 2 seed, which I can't remember happening since the days of Shaq and Kobe.
Which I mean, you look at the rest of the East. It's hard to argue that anyone else. I mean, I guess the Hawks.
Sharp, I've looked at the East.
Hey, come on.
And Cousin Sal and I have Cavs minus 300 parlayed with Floyd Mayweather on May 2nd. We're very proud of this bet. I'd really be. I know we're going to lose one of the two because Sal and I always lose when we do pig parlays together, but I can't for the life of me figure out how the Cavs don't make the finals. Because now that you have Thabo out and you have Millsap with this shoulder thing, and
Antich with possible legal problems,
and I just don't see it. I don't see anybody go near them.
I like the Bulls as the biggest challenger.
Yeah, I think Well, especially the Bulls are, if they play, we're taping this on a Monday. The Bulls need to throw tonight's game. Lock in a number 4. You get Whitman in round 1.
Oh, man.
Here we go.
And then in round 2, you get to skip the Cavs.
Yeah.
You get 4 or 5 round 1, then you get the Hawks in round 2. They're too big for the Hawks.
And if the Bulls come in after winning 2 series and get a little momentum rolling before they play Cleveland, that'll be a good series.
And then Tibbs before Game 7 could be like, Game 7 of the Cavs, I'm not coaching unless I get an extension right now. Or like, you have to fire Gar Forman or I'm not coaching this game. Like, he could pull a total sports movie move on somebody. I agree with you. I think the Bulls are the threat. If they're in the 4 seed, that's the team that could give the Cavs trouble.
I saw that Derrick Rose, they had something up on ESPN today about Derrick Rose saying that, his rehab was hell. He's always going through hell.
Coming back out the other side.
He has a $300 million shoe contract and he makes $20 million a year.
Yeah, the shoe deal doesn't get mentioned often enough. He's doing fine.
It is funny. Like LeBron and Chris Paul are going to play the whole poverty thing when we have the impending lockout coming up and superstars need to make more money. And the NBA has such a great way to shut that down. It's like, you're right. You guys probably are underpaid, but how much money do you make off the court?
Right.
Because you play for us? Like Bron's making like $50 million a year off the court or something? It's because he plays in the NBA. So that's going to be an interesting stare down. Clips. All right, let's just – there's no way to predict the series in round 1, but Clips Grizzlies would be super fun, and I feel like somebody might die.
I think that – and that also –
Blake Griffin.
The Grizzlies have been flagging a little bit, but I think that wakes up the Bear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Portland, Houston, I think would be fun.
Yeah.
I like the Grizzlies. I think the Grizzlies have been sort of lurking for the last couple of weeks, and if Mike Conley's healthy, I think they're going to make a nice little run here.
Well, that's the problem is he's sucked for 2 months. And, and clearly
he also
has some
tried
sort
to
of
play.
foot issue.
He seems like he tried to play through a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
when he didn't need to, probably.
Yeah, he just hasn't looked good. Gasol hasn't looked the same either. Like Gasol was incredible.
The Jeff Green trade, man. Mid-season trades are just kind of they're always a crapshoot.
I can't bet against Zebo and Tony Allen to come up huge in the playoffs and scare somebody.
Well, Grantland just has so many corners that we just live on. Zebo and Tony, Westbrook for life.
I can't wait to see Blake and Zach again. Like that's just one of my favorite annual traditions is watching those two.
I love Zebo even more after Steven Jackson.
Oh yeah.
Talking about the guys who don't play.
Yeah.
It's like it's going to get to a point, and once it gets to that point...
The Congo, forget it. But Zebo, yeah.
Forget what Serge Ibaka went through as a kid. But Zebo being on that thing, and that'd be a great one. I think San Antonio, Dallas would be fun, just because Dallas somehow knows how to play San Antonio.
Yeah.
San Antonio will win the series, but there's always those moments where you go, oh, wow. Dallas
it's also going to have,
this.
it's going to be the best coached series, so that'll be fun to watch.
Yeah.
And Dirk will come up huge in a couple games. He's had a rough couple of months, but I think the playoffs will bring out the best in him.
The one thing I will say, and I don't know anything about who's going to play what. Nobody does. There's got 3 days left. But if I'm Houston, I don't want any part of San Antonio because I don't think I think if those teams played 10 times, I think San Antonio wins 9.
So it's no Beverly, no Demo, and Dwight's
Kawhi just
up and down with
Kawhi just ruins Harden,
and then
that's it. It's like it's almost like the Belichick.
I don't know
thing.
if Houston can get by Portland, like with the team that they're bringing into if they wind up against the Blazers. Like I don't know.
It's great.
I think that's their only chance.
It's great for Portland because you can hide Lillard on defense. I love this whole thing where Lillard took it personally that. No, you're terrible at defense, David Lillard. Guys have career nights against you over and over again. You're gonna be kidding me. But Portland still. If you're down 3-2 and you're in Portland are they guaranteed 4 seed? They are, right?
Yeah,
because
of the Pacific Division.
Oh yeah. So if you're down, if it's 3-3 going into Game 7, that's a tough place to play.
Got some ghosts there too.
Yeah, that's right. They'll show the Parsons. Although Parsons not on the team anymore.
Maybe they bring Parsons to sit courtside. They fly him up on an off day.
I love that you guys both tried to pretend that you'd rather see New Orleans in round one than OKC, when both of you would just mark out for Westbrook. You'd be wearing Westbrook T-shirts.
Look, I'm not saying I don't have 300 words of a draft called 5 Ways that the OKC could beat the Warriors already written, but I just there's part of me that's like, you almost want to see them put out of their misery.
I think Westbrook's season becomes cooler if they miss the playoffs. Like it's more legendary what he did on this team. And then I think watching him sort of get exposed by the Warriors would just be painful for everybody.
This way he shows up on the TNT show dressed up like Luigi from Super Mario Brothers and gets to be like a commentator or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. I love when they do that. I remember one year they had, I think it was Gary Payton. I'm talking like 12 years ago. It was in that era, and I think it was Gary Payton, and it was just the most incredible night of my life. It was early. I don't give a crap. Gary Payton.
He's like, I didn't know that I had to worry about getting a job for this, Gary Payton.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not on live, right? I could say anything, but they were on live. Westbrook. There was a funny story last night on ESPN.com by Royce Young about the game he played yesterday, and they said he was so mad when he sat down, like he almost broke the chair. And then there was some heckler behind him yelling at him. Yeah. And Westbrook got mad, and security had to come over and tell the guy to calm down. I'm thinking, like, what's happening to sports? Like, you can't yell at players anymore? Russell might get his feelings hurt. Like,
no, I think it's actually literally like, you can yell at him, but we just can't guarantee that this won't go bad.
You think they were preventing Artest melee?
Yeah, because when he was coming back to the bench, like the whole bench parted like the Red Sea so that he could start slamming chairs down. So I think he was like, I mean, he tried. He's probably dinged up as much as anybody, and he tried every trick he had yesterday, and it wasn't enough.
OKC, just in general, how they treat everybody's perception of their team.
Yeah.
It's like they're covering up a crime scene at all times. It's unbelievable. It's
the one thing that's kind of annoying about Westbrook is that when he'll go out and take 45 shots, the first thing you hear is people defending him and defending every decision he made, and it's like, listen, I love Westbrook because he's insane, and like, this is reckless, but. You have people being like, let Westbrook be Westbrook, and I'm like, yes, definitely, but this isn't like Steph Curry. This isn't like the best way to play point guard. But he almost makes it work, which is what's so amazing.
He took, I think it was the 10th most shots since 1986 in a game yesterday.
Yeah, and it's kind of insane too, because like I'll be watching Thunder games, and it'll be like, Morrow is 9 for 9 from 3.
Right.
But he only has touched the ball 9 times.
Yeah.
Like, every single time he'll shoot it from his hip 35 feet out with a guy tripping him, and it's still like, no, he's just getting.
And he can almost pull it off.
I know.
It's wild.
The Celtics played them, and Westbrook was kind of on cruise control in the first half, and Marcus Smart was home. Where he went to college, and he was playing really well. And I think the Celtics were like up like 8 or 10 going into halftime, and at some point in the second quarter, Smart decided he was going to say shit to Westbrook.
Right.
Ooh.
And it was just a terrible idea for so many reasons, but you could just see it. And watching on TV, all of a sudden Westbrook's like, man, he's looking at the bench, he's like starting to do Westbrook things, and it's like, out of all the dumb things Marcus Smart's done this year, I love Marcus Smart. I'll defend Marcus Smart, but he'll take the random 29-footer for no reason at all, and he'll do dumb shit every once in a while. But this was easily the dumbest thing he's done all season.
Sharp, here's a question for you, because going off of this idea is, Draymond has been getting very chippy over the last couple of months. I feel like
Westbrook?
He's become very aware of his the cult of Draymond and what people expect from him.
He's buying into the hype.
But a lot of it is either chirping at the Pelicans or chirping at the Clippers. He's gonna hit some real dudes coming up into the third round of the playoffs. Who do you think is like a really perfect Draymond rival coming up?
I want to watch Draymond and Zebo go back and forth for 7 games.
No,
because Michigan State guys.
We have to put extra security. No,
neither one of those guys bluff.
There won't be Michigan State crime.
No.
Yeah, seriously. Poor Craig Gaines.
Oh yeah, that's true. That would be terrible for him. Yeah, Draymond. I think I'm with you on the cult of Draymond. I do feel like he'll be spreading his wings.
Like he's going to yell at Tim Duncan or something.
I have personal knowledge of a couple of the things that he said to opponents.
So do we.
Yeah, all of us do.
Yeah.
And it crossed every line that I knew existed.
I'm surprised
It
I
made me
haven't
love
seen
him
a
so
guy
much more.
cry out on the start just sort of like tearing up a little bit. Like
It didn't even cross the line. It just blew it up and detonated it. All right, let's quickly go. You guys, we do the Triangle All-Stars every year. And you have a preseason team. And at the end of the year, we acknowledge
some achievers.
Yeah, our achievers, people who have captured our imagination and love.
Yeah, maybe not the box scorer, maybe not the most efficient guys in the league.
Yeah, this isn't James Harden, Anthony Davis, Chris Paul. This is
winners in our heart.
Yeah,
up and comers, role players, people who've kind of made following the NBA and social media more fun. So we haven't narrowed it down yet to a top 12, but we're just going to go quickly through the list, and maybe we can eliminate one or two people right now. Victor Oladipo and Elfrid Payton. Could they go in together as a tandem? Has that happened before?
Most exciting young backcourt in the league that does everything that most backcourts in the league don't do. So no long-range shooting.
Right. Can't shoot at all.
Yeah.
It's the Sloan Conference backcourt.
It's like two young Joe Johnsons who haven't learned to shoot three-pointers yet, just like they can D up everybody. They both drive constantly. That's why I don't know about Boogie being on the Magic. He'd be like, why are these two young guys running at me every single time I come down the floor?
I also like Elfrid Payton's hair.
Yeah,
it's great. Hair alone makes him a winner. And then he also, his game is kind of like a more evolved version of Patrick Beverley. Like he's not going at people's knees every time, but he's got that same sort of psychotic energy.
I really liked him in the draft, and I remember when the Kings passed on him. It sucks to do the draft in this respect. You don't have enough time to talk about the picks. So it's 5 minutes. You're zooming through, and like when they took Stauskas, like I like Stauskas as a pick, but not for the Kings and not where they took him, and it just didn't make sense. And we didn't have enough time to talk about it. I thought they should take an Elfrid Payton, but
perfect spot too. They were just like, you're a starting point guard.
And instead they went and they spent money on point guards, and they have a redundant whatever. But all right, so those are two candidates. We have to talk about maybe teaming them together.
Yeah.
Isaiah Thomas has to be on the team. I'm not going to make the case for him, but
Also,
you guys know he needs to be on the team.
This was a Simmons mandate, but he's on there.
But I will say, we like to give guys on the Triangle All-Stars roles because it's important for guys to know their role. Isaiah Thomas, glue guy. Who would have guessed? Jack McMullen article today talks about him like he's basically like the second coming of John Havlicek out there. Like
he's the best.
Yeah,
after tearing apart the Suns.
Yeah, after tearing apart the Suns and getting run out of the Sacramento.
All right, so this was one of my cases for Isaiah Thomas. Everyone in Sacramento loved him. He obviously had something going on with Boogie, but I think the fans loved him. He played with he wasn't like a cancer there. Then he goes to Phoenix. They have 5 point guards. That team is insane.
Yeah.
That team has the Morris twins and P.J. Tucker and Gerald Green. And they have Dragic was clearly unhappy. Like, how is this Isaiah Thomas's fault?
Yeah.
They put together like this personality mismatch. All right.
And then also, I mean, on the Celtics, every time he comes on the court, like the game becomes more fun. So he's definitely a Triangle All-Star. I also think he's made a bigger impact than Goran Dragic has in the East the past 2 months.
So Wade tried to maim him, which he so often does with Boston athletes, and that didn't even work. If I vote for Isaiah Thomas for sixth man, does that make me a homer?
I think you're straight.
Yeah.
He's averaging 19 a game.
Look,
Can the sixth man be traded?
Sixth man is the most random award the NBA has. You might as well just go for it.
Can't Rudy Gobert, who's also on this list, win sixth man?
He started like half the games.
Isaiah's
Isaiah's like a real sixth man.
Okay.
I was thinking Iguodala. Lou Williams, like everybody's like, oh, Lou Williams. It's like, I watch basketball. Like I've seen Lou Williams shoot them out of games too.
Right. Isaiah Thomas is a better version of Lou Williams.
Yeah, it's if you said to any basketball fan, I'm starting a team, who would you rather have, Lou Williams or Isaiah Thomas? Doesn't everyone take Isaiah Thomas, or am I crazy? Okay. Mozgov is on here. How come?
Just because of his local advertising.
Okay.
Timothy Mozgov is recently, not only did he save the Cavs season, so there's that.
Yep.
But he also has been appearing in some local Cleveland beer garden ads, sporting a commando-era Schwarzenegger accent. And talking about get this weak stuff out of here, and just like knocks beer off the table.
He kind of looks like a hostage in those ads.
Yeah, it does.
It's great. I also one of my favorite moments in BS Report history is when Brian Windhorst said that LeBron was slumped against a hotel wall, and then he saw Timothy Mozgov walk in, and he was filled with hope for the rest of the season.
This is great. All right, Rudy Gay's on here?
No, Rudy Gobert. Sorry.
Oh, Rudy Gobert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stifle, yeah, just because he's got a great nickname.
We don't have to explain Rudy, Giannis, or Boogie.
No.
Nerlens. Interesting. Is this a homer pick?
Yeah, this is my homer pick, but it's also just like seeing him, even if he is like a more exciting young Theo Ratliff. I was always a fan of Theo Ratliff. And
Me too. I like Theo Ratliff.
Nerlens is definitely in that place where anything within about 10 feet of the backboard is getting dunked or blocked on one end of the floor or the other. So he's a really exciting player.
And he's got a sneaky, if he has the ball at the foul line, he's got this sneaky one-step drive to the basket that I kind of like. You know, a couple Sixer fans were like, yeah, you don't know anything about Nerlens comparing him to Theo Ratliff. It's like, Theo Ratliff was really good. I don't know. Maybe some of the people that read Grantland are under 20 or something, but like Theo Ratliff was a good basketball player.
Yeah, I think Theo Ratliff tailed off at the end, but he had like 5 or 6 really good years.
Yeah, people remember the Theo Ratliff's expiring
and
contract.
He's getting traded 18
but
times.
But
like
when you traded him from Mutombo, the team was a 1 seed when the trade happened. Boogie, we don't have to explain. Mirotic has been, I mean,
incredible beard.
I don't know how we leave him off.
Yeah, I mean, just even if he is 37, probably in reality, like great rookie.
Honestly, this Bull season could have been a lot more depressing if not for Mirotic coming on over the last like 2.5 months.
Yeah,
and really started tearing things up.
Reggie Jackson?
Just because of the...
that was my pick.
This is sharp, but I like the idea of thinking about Reggie in relationship to DeAndre and contract years and performances during contract years. And like, if you looked at those guys as stocks and how they rose and fell over the course of the year. And also just the way like Doc's been out here trying to get DeAndre a max contract all season long, advocating for him to be. And basically, the Thunder had Reggie's bags packed.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
But he's Detroit's having a nice end of the season, right?
This was the most disastrous, drama-filled contract year I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I mean, first of all, Reggie needs someone in his corner, and the triangle is going to be there. But second of all, like I will remember this for years to come as far as contract years are concerned, because I've just never seen anybody have things go worse.
Well, it's funny now because Reggie Jackson had a couple good weeks there.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "Oh, you got to get rid of Monroe because Reggie Jackson needs room to operate." Yeah. It's like I don't know if that's my number one reason.
Stan's like, we're gonna try and sign Monroe. Like he's a good player.
I think the Monroe Knicks stuff finally came out. People have been talking about that for a while. I think Monroe's going to the Knicks. I would lock that one down. Dion Waiters.
He's our patron saint.
Yeah.
He will probably be playing in Greece in 2 years, but while it lasts, it's been amazing.
I have a vested interest in Oklahoma City dysfunction, and
right.
I don't know what we would write about if we didn't have it.
He's our stealth agent.
J.R. Smith, I like because his career was turned around by moving to Cleveland.
Yeah, and that Cleveland is so boring that it's
great for him.
It saved his nightlife activities from just derailing his career.
Did you see him lecturing fellow NBA players about what to do at the club at 4 a.m.?
Yes, it happened today.
Rules of engagement.
Just get out.
Get
That's
in the
kind of
car.
like Jordan Belfort going around and talking about how to be a good trader.
Right. Austin Rivers.
I mean, this has been quietly my favorite story of the year. Just the fact that he's still a professional basketball player.
It's like
in
a
the NBA,
reality show.
And the fact that there are videos circulating of Blake Griffin mocking him to his face at Clippers practice.
Yeah.
And then giving him a little bit of a hug. But the
Not
idea
really.
of
They
like...
didn't mean it.
I've actually never seen an NBA player be like, here's a funny video of how you play and you're garbage. And then the guy's just like, I have to take it because basically the only reason I'm here is because my dad is the coach.
And you also have Doc. Doc's going to have to decide whether to re-sign him this summer, which is a fun subplot for the playoffs.
Another fun contract. The Celtics were going to send him to Maine to play for the Red Claws.
Yeah. The James Young Red Claws.
Yeah, it was going to be him and James Young leading the Maine Red Claws to a title. It feels like Kent Bazemore is missing.
Well, we don't have a really great bench celebration
chemist
guy.
Yeah,
Barboza has kind of taken on that role for the Warriors. What about you, Sharp? Do you have a bench guy you like?
Oh my God, I cannot believe we forgot Mitch McGary.
Oh yeah,
McGary's got to be on there.
Doing Lord of the Dance when people dunk. Yeah,
McGary's got to be on, and also I'm just gonna say it. I think Perkins needs to be considered.
Wow.
It's been an amazing. He's now fully established himself as the I can't move anymore, but the one thing I can do is give you a hard foul.
Yeah.
And the other thing, locker room in line.
He's going to separate somebody's shoulder in the playoffs.
And the other thing I can do is if we're up or down 25 and you run a set play for me, I'm going to throw a jump hook against the backboard, and it might kill somebody. But that's happening.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna miss the OKC playoff games where they go into him for the first 3 touches
just to get him involved, just to keep him up,
just to get him in the flow of the game.
Now it's Enes Kanter, but he's actually competent, so it's kind of sad. It makes me miss the old days of Perk. But I think you need to think about him. This team's missing an old, washed-up veteran.
That's right.
So whether it's him or Jason Richardson, I don't know.
We got to go Perk. Perk brings that country attitude too.
All right, we have to go. Sharp and Chris, we will read you all week. When is Triangle All-Stars coming?
Sometime this week. Thursday.
And then what else?
Playoff
preview?
Playoff previews, all week.
Daily grind here.
Playoff shoot-around. I talked to Klosterman again about contributing to the shoot-around. I just don't follow basketball well enough. But we're going to get him. He's going to be involved. And then we have Grantland Basketball Hour Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
We have 2 shows, 7 p.m. Thursday, 7 p.m. Friday, ESPN. Zach Lowe flying out, his first excursion away from the East Coast after he sired a child.
You make it sound very Game of Thrones by saying that. Yeah.
We're flying him to the north. And we have a bunch of other special guests.
Yeah, it's high season.
Yeah, it's good. So check that out. Build Online. Also check out the BS Report because we put up a podcast today as well. Sharp, Chris, thank you.
Thank you, man.
All right.
And
Later,
we'll be back next week, Monday, on Bill Don't Lie. Talk to you soon.